right, we are back. What is going on, Colts Nation? And welcome back to another episode of Sleeper Colts, guys. We are within a week of training camp, which is so exciting. And of course, we had to bring on one of our fellow Colts sleeper people here. We have Daniel McGill on joining us. He runs the X account on our Sleeper Colts content and everything like that. Does a fantastic job. Daniel, welcome onto the show, man. How are you?
Thanks, Cody. I'm doing well. Super excited to be here, talk some Colts ball.
Absolutely, man. And we finally get some answers. It's been a very long off season. It feels like the hype has kind of been down for a lot of people this year. So I'm glad that we're finally starting to get some actual new Colts content because you can only talk about the same thing so much. So with that being said, man, I'm kind of curious for you as we look into training camp, and there's going to be a lot of battles that are going on through the course of camp. Obviously, a lot of new starters, especially on defense. When you're looking at the specific battles that you are the most interested in heading into camp, what would be some of those that you're really going to be watching as we kind of get into camp and then get to preseason and things like that?
For sure. I think there's a bunch of interesting battles this year. But three that stick out to me the most, I would say, is the backup quarterback battle, the wide receiver three battle, and then the second linebacker spot. Super excited to see those play out.
Yeah, for sure. And we're going to start with the backup quarterback situation there. Obviously, Anthony Richardson coming back from the freak kind of injury he suffered with that eye. And then, of course, Riley Leonard, who had to step in some moments last year. Man, what are you looking for in that battle that's going to intrigue you the most? And who do you think what do you think it's going to take for whoever is going to win that position to kind of take that quarterback two position there?
Definitely. I think it's going to take staying healthy. Obviously, you look at Richardson. I'm a big believer in him myself, but he's needed reps to kind of sharpen his game, and he hasn't been able to stay on the field, unfortunately. And he's really needed to do that. Obviously, the injury last year, that's unlucky. But when you're out as much, you kind of have to start to ask some tough questions with that. So I think whoever wins definitely gonna have to stay healthy throughout the preseason, and I'm just excited to see if Riley Leonard can kind of build on his end of season performance against the Texans. Obviously pretty solid. You could say he was playing against second stringers. I think any Sunday in a regular season NFL game, no matter who's out there, especially against a divisional opponent, it's gonna be tough. So I was impressed with him at the end of the year. Excited to see if he can carry that over.
Yeah, yeah. I am just very intrigued with Anthony Richardson because, like, what do we get from Anthony Richardson this year? Right? It's like he's had really two back-to-back forgettable years from 24 with all the drama around that, getting benched and everything like that, and then last year, obviously losing the quarterback battle, and then obviously with the injury as well. So I'm very curious, kind of what we see from Anthony Richardson this year, because I mean, we even heard like take away the staying off the field and all that, the injury stuff. I mean, even some of the stuff, the question marks about his leadership we've heard, and even some of the preparation stuff, like all that kind of stuff. And who knows how much of that is true versus not. But from that standpoint, is he going to approach it any differently? Going through what he's gone through the last couple of years.
Definitely. I think it will be interesting to see. This year, you could maybe say he could come in with just kind of nothing to lose attitude. I mean, it's been tough so far. Hasn't really worked out. So hopefully he can come in fresh mindset, was out injured, just kind of play like he has nothing to lose. The leadership thing's tough. You were drafted to kind of be the guy, and now obviously Jones is here. So for him, just staying positive, still trying to be a leader. I'm sure he's still a respected voice in the locker room.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, you already mentioned also the wide receiver three position, which to me is so intriguing because you honestly, I have no idea who's going to win that position because there's so many guys that I think could factor into this. I mean, I think you talk about Ashton Doolin and right now probably Nick Westbrook-Akine as the top two guys, but man, we've heard a lot about the Colts potentially considering adding a vet out there. So what are you looking for in terms of the guys currently on the roster, and what do you think they need to prove in order to show the Colts, oh, we don't need to look outside, we got our guys here?
Yeah, I think during training camp and preseason games, we're gonna need to, or the coaches are gonna be looking for some production out of these guys. Um, I think it's an interesting battle because I think most of the ones, most of the positional group battles, there's kind of a one or a two. This one, you could argue there's three people. You could put Deion Burks in the mix too.
Hmm.
Obviously, he's a rookie, so it might take him a little while to get started. But I'm excited to see what he can do as well. He seemed kind of explosive. Had some big catches in the college football playoff. So I think they're just kind of with three guys, they're going to want to see who can go out there and kind of play some ball. I was personally surprised that they didn't go for a veteran wide receiver in free agency, but you can't change that now. So it's up to one of these three guys because they're definitely gonna need some help from that position. Gonna need some receptions. Obviously, Warren, Pierce, Downs cannot account for all the Colts receptions.
Yeah. Yeah, I will be very fascinated to see, like, as that goes on, does anybody start to separate themselves? And if not, then what do we see the Colts do? Do they pivot to a Deebo Samuel or Keenan Allen, or do they, roll with kind of multiple guys at that position group, kind of going in and out of reps and things like that? That's very interesting to me on just how that's going to pan out. And obviously you talked about the wild card kind of with Deion Burks is like, what is he going to be? Because while he was a 7th round pick, I mean, a lot of people said that was a steal. Like, there's no way he should have been there because, like you said, he was productive at the highest level. And he showed like some rare physical specimens coming out of the draft. So it is interesting, like, where does he factor in? Is it just on special teams, or does he actually push for any playing time as a rookie?
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely tough. Like, you're looking at Doolin, he's been in the building for so many years. Like, it's going to be hard to come in and outwork him, and outperform him. So maybe it'll be something more gradual. I thought Doolin was pretty explosive last year. I feel like they got some good end arounds going for him. So I also think it could be something where it's a little bit everyone kind of couple different cooks in the kitchen, everyone kind of helping out in different areas, end around, screen passes, deep passes. I think that could work out well if it's kind of more everyone pitching in.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely could see them going that committee approach for sure there. And then you obviously mentioned linebacker as well. And we know CJ Allen's going to be that guy. He's going to call the plays. He's going to be that leader on that defense in the middle there. But you're right. I think that second linebacker position is very intriguing to me because you have Akeem Davis Gaither, who you signed, probably one of the more notable guys you signed in free agency. He's had plenty of starts in his time in the league. And then obviously you have, the guy you drafted in round 4 out of Oregon, Bryce Betcher as well, kind of in there competing. And then some other guys like a Jalen Carlies and a few others there in the back end of that room. I will be very intrigued to see who is the guy alongside CJ Allen come practice 1 versus come week 1.
Yeah, definitely. I think Akeem Davis Gaither, it seemed like a career year last year. I'm kind of excited to see what he can do, and I feel like it's similar to the wide receiver one where he's been in the league for 5-6 years, and he'll be going up against Bryce, who's obviously a rookie. So that could be another one where it's kind of gradual changing over time. I'd love to see Davis Gaither there week 1. But I'm also super excited for Bryce as well. I love people that come from sports family. He obviously has a baseball background, excuse me. He seems like a competitor, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's pushing Gaither for snaps at any point. That just seems like the type of person he is.
Yeah, it is kind of wild how the Colts just completely scrapped that linebacker room and it's going pretty much all youth at this point. It's kind of crazy to me how much of a difference we saw from last year to this year. So, but there's another position battle that I'm really interested in as well. And I'm curious your take on this, Daniel. The strong safety position is very intriguing to me because you signed like 3 safeties to potentially compete for that spot. You drafted a kid in AJ Halsey in round 3 who very productive last year at LSU, a player that for as much as Nick Cross, had his moments, he was never the type of coverage safety that AJ Halsey is immediately coming into the league. So, what's he going to provide from that standpoint? And just as an overall player, it's going to be interesting to see, does AJ Halsey get on the field early, or do one of these other guys potentially compete and get some early snaps out of him?
Definitely. Halsey, I think, was probably my favorite draft pick. He seems like someone who forces a lot of turnovers. I feel like they drafted him drafted him with wanting him to contribute early to this team. I feel like he kind of like you said with the linebackers, like they scrapped that. We got some new players in it at strong safety. I just think we need some new blood, and on the defense, and obviously the veteran signings too.
Mhm.
I think we're good signings. I like Thomas from Dallas, and then I also think Edwards is a solid special teams player. So
Sure.
if he's not helping out on defense, I expect to see him on special teams. Um, but yeah, that's another underrated battle, and I'm really excited to see what Halsey can do. I don't know how you feel about him.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be a guy that pushes early if doesn't start, which I think you need at that point. Like, I'd rather go with a young guy who is productive in college. I'd rather him just kind of hit the ground running right away because he doesn't strike me as a guy like Nick Cross that's going to need time. Like, Nick Cross needed a year or two to get finally into where he was, but AJ Halsey seems more of like a pro-ready guy right away, which I think you need at this point. I mean, we know like this is a big season for a lot of people, and you need a rookie to come in and play immediate snaps, and the Colts were able to get that potentially in the two guys they drafted early. So yeah, I definitely think that AJ Halsey is going to push for some time, and personally, I'd like to see him start over anybody for sure.
Yeah, I would too. And I think you could also kind of play the flip side of that being a big season. Do the coaching staff and front office, with Ballard, it being obviously a big year for him, does he want veteran presence out there week one? They
Mm,
obviously have a very tough 3 games to start. So
yeah.
good luck to any rookies that is thrown out there to start because that is a gauntlet of QBs they're playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's going to be definitely tough week one against Lamar Jackson. And then it doesn't get any easier the next couple of weeks for sure. Yeah. But I already kind of mentioned Daniel. And as we kind of maybe get into the next part of this episode, sticking with this whole idea of camp, like I mentioned, there's a lot of new players stepping into roles, right? There's a lot of guys that are going to be playing different roles with this team, new starters one way or another, with a lot of veterans being shipped off or walking in free agency. So I'm curious for you, like, what if you had to look at some of these position groups, what are the ones that you're the most confident in heading into camp that you feel like the transition will be as smooth as possible, if not pretty seamless? And what are the ones you're maybe a little bit more concerned about heading into this year that you're like, I don't know how this is going to go for this team?
Definitely. There's probably 3 that I think I would say I'm most confident in. No order. I'll start with the QB room. Just great depth there. I feel like as a Colts fan, there hasn't always been great depth in the quarterback room. We've always had a great one for the most of the time, but sometimes we've had to worry if they went down. And obviously, if DJ went down, it would be troublesome. But I have a little bit of confidence in Richardson and Leonard. I think they're above average backups in this league. So confident in that group. Next, I'd look at the cornerback position. Excited to see Sauce and Charvarius healthy for a full year. And I think Justin Wally is it's going to be good to see him incorporate in the mix, learn from them. Those are 2 pretty talented corners to learn from. And then finally, I would say our defensive tackle group. I think obviously Buckner's coming off an injury, but assuming that he's back to 100%, I feel like him, Grover Stewart, and then obviously Adebayo War. I might be pronouncing that incorrectly, but he was pretty solid last year for a backup. So those are the 3 groups that I would be most confident in.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I'm kind of curious on, some of these guys that, are those new starters. Like I'm thinking, Jalen Travis at right tackle, whoever in the world is the other end alongside Leatu Latu. There's a few guys like that are any of those guys concern you? Like some of these young guys that are kind of stepping into roles that maybe were held by some of these vets for years. Like any of those worry you, or do you feel fairly confident that they can pick up the slack there?
I'm definitely worried about the defensive end group. Latu's been, I think, solid. He was the first defensive player I believe selected in that
Mhm.
in that draft. So you might want a little bit more on paper from him production wise so far. Um, I'm worried about who starts across from him. Just in terms of production, obviously made some signings. Weren't anything big name. I'd love to see JTT
Mm.
start alongside him, but he's a question mark and didn't get a lot of saps last year for whatever reason. But that group worries me a lot because we have a great quarterback room. So, if you can pass rush with that, that's a pretty great combo. Just going to need the pass rush to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's every year we say this. It's just like the pass rush isn't good enough. The edge
Yeah.
room isn't good enough. And it's not for a lack of trying. It's just like you keep trying and missing at this point. And so, yeah, you're right. I hope Tui Muluwal kind of takes that next step because that would be huge for you. Because how many times has Ballard taken these second round edges and they just haven't worked out for one reason or another? It's crazy how many guys he's swung at and missed. I mean, Latu's really the only guy that he swung at in the draft fairly early and has actually come away and is a guy you feel like, okay, he could be, taking a step into actually being a top-ish player at his position, which you just haven't had. That's been like the one Achilles heel of Chris Ballard that you point to is like, you cannot draft edges like at all. It's been really, really bad.
Yeah, it stinks, growing up watching Mathis and Freeney, and then just kind of Ballard has not been able to hit on an edge. And Late 2's been solid. Like I wouldn't call him like a bust or anything by any means. But just probably wanted a little bit more from him. And I think he would have benefited from having like a strong number one vet presence across from him early in the career, where if the attention was on them, he would have a little bit more sack numbers the last few years. I think 10 plus would be my goal for him this season. Definitely think he's capable. Just we'll need the defense playing solid behind them. We'll need everyone to stay healthy. But that group worries me. With how good quarterbacks are today in the NFL, you need to be able to rush the quarterback, or you're just a sitting duck, no matter how good your cornerbacks are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Like, you got to be able to get quarterbacks on the ground. You got to protect them and get to them. And the Colts haven't always been able to do the getting to them part. So hopefully it changes. Hopefully, Arden Key, if he starts, has a career year, or JT Tuimuluau does something awesome. But again, there's a lot of question marks and not a lot of answers right now. So I'm excited to get answers one way or another so we can kind of know moving forward. All right. Last thing I want to do here, Daniel, before I let you go, and I appreciate you hopping on here and talking ball, but as we enter into training camp, what are some of the biggest things that you need to see as a fan of the Colts, that you need to see the Colts do in camp, or you need to hear about in camp, that would make you feel a little bit more confident heading into 2026 and saying, hey, look, this is more of the beginning of 2025 versus the end of 2025. Like, what would make you the most confident hearing whatever would happen in camp? What would make you feel confident about it?
Definitely seeing some of the young guys assimilate in well. I think this Colts team, on paper, they're probably right around 500. They have some rookie players who could definitely make an impact. So, to me, like if I were to say training camp went well, I'm hoping to see a lot of clips on Burks on the timeline, CJ Allen, Bryce, even someone like Justin Wally, who got injured last year. Love to see him get in there. I'm super big on him. And then this is more obvious, but just staying healthy. I feel like, it's a part of the NFL, but the Colts, like specifically just training camp the last few years, I feel like more people have been going down than usual. And you can't really avoid it. But hopefully it's minimized to an extent, because again, we know the first 3 games of the schedule, so they're going to need to be fully healthy week 1 to have a chance to compete with Lamar and the Ravens.
Yeah, I know the injuries have been ridiculous last couple of years. I don't know what the deal is, man. It's cursed ground or something. I don't know. It's been rough, but
it's been
anyway. Yeah, it has, for sure. I remember last year, like all the corners just going down. It was crazy. Like we had to go rely upon, I don't even know who it was at that point. It was just like these 3rd or 4th string corners being starters out there. It was just unbelievable. It's actually kind of insane when you think about how many corners the Colts actually went through and played last year, from camp all the way up to the end of the regular season. There were so many guys. So no wonder they went out and they just like went crazy in trying to address the cornerback room the last couple of years. But anyway, appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been great.
Yeah, definitely. Happy to hop on whenever. Appreciate the work you're doing for Sleeper. I also do want to say one more position battle that might be a little under the radar, but it's going to be fire. Spencer Schrader versus Blake Grupe.
Yes.
Schrader was kicking well before he went down. Grupe finished out the season hot. Did he miss a kick? No, right?
Nope. I don't think he did.
So that's going to be electric. Kickers are people too. Make sure you guys tune in to watch that. And whoever doesn't get it, probably won't stay on the team. Someone else in the
Mhm.
league is going to get a great kicker. Hopefully, it's an NFC team.
Yeah, right. Hopefully. But yeah, that'll do it for this one, guys. Let us know your thoughts on training camp. And again, shout out to Daniel for coming on. If you haven't already and you're on X, go follow Sleeper Colts right now. He does a great job over there. But other than that, guys, we're interested to see how camp does play out. So thank you guys for tuning in. Before you head out, be sure to do a couple things. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. That helps us out tremendously. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, guys, have a good one.